Just a few minutes ago, Elon Musk dropped a bombshell that no one saw coming. Out of nowhere, he revealed shocking secrets about Charlie Kirk. And these revelations are not just about personal drama. They raise questions that cut straight through politics, media, and the hidden forces that shape the world we live in. So the real question is, what exactly is being covered up? And why did Elon choose this exact moment to reveal it? To understand why this has left millions of people stunned, we have to go back to the two central figures in this storm. Elon Musk, a name almost every single person on this planet recognizes, not just because he is one of the wealthiest tech billionaires alive, but because he is a disruptor, a man who can flip entire industries upside down with a single move. With Tesla, he redefined the future of cars. With SpaceX, he turned humanity's dream of reaching Mars into a serious possibility. And with Twitter, now reborn as X, he transformed himself into the self-proclaimed guardian of free speech. But Elon Musk is not just a businessman. He is a polarizing social and political figure. Every single word that leaves his mouth has the power to dominate headlines, trigger outrage, and reshape the way millions of people perceive reality. That influence makes him both admired and feared. Charlie Kirk, on the other hand, comes from a completely different background. Born in 1993, he didn't build rockets or electric cars. He didn't climb to fame with wealth or technology. Instead, he rose to prominence through sheer force of organization and political activism. As the founder of Turning Point USA, Kirk quickly became one of the loudest young voices of the American conservative movement. He's a regular face on television, a frequent speaker at universities, and a relentless critic of progressivism. To his supporters, Kirk embodies courage, a man willing to stand against the tide. But to his critics, he's a threat, someone who challenges the system too directly, too aggressively. And here is where the connection becomes dangerous. Despite coming from opposite worlds, Musk with his billion-dollar empires and Kirk with his grassroots activism, they share one critical trait. Both of them are fearless. Both of them defy the system openly. One uses technology and platforms to expand freedom of speech. The other channels the energy of the youth to question the rules of the political game. Together, they inspire loyalty in their followers and fear in their enemies. And that's why what happened next shook the nation. When news broke of the violent attack against Charlie Kirk, it wasn't just another story. It was a warning. Musk didn't just defend Kirk, he claimed that truths were being hidden. And coming from the man who controls one of the largest communication platforms in the world, that statement wasn't just commentary. It was an explosion, a declaration that left millions of people asking, who is behind this and what is really happening? This is not the first time these two men have clashed with the mainstream media. Elon Musk has repeatedly called out the press for bias. He even released the Twitter files, exposing how censorship operated behind the scenes. Kirk, on his side, has been branded an extremist over and over. His events have been shut down, his speeches threatened, and yet the more resistance he faced, the stronger his presence became. Both men built their reputations as voices unafraid to confront propaganda. That is why when Musk suggested he knew the truth about what really happened to Kirk, people didn't see it as just another tweet. They saw it as a warning. Because those who dare to challenge the system often face consequences that go beyond politics. The attack on Charlie Kirk sent shockwaves across the country. At first, the information was scarce. All that was known was that Kirk had been suddenly and brutally targeted in an act of violence. But what turned this into a nationwide scandal wasn't just the brutality. It was the way the media covered it. Instead of focusing on the attacker or the failures in security, certain outlets decided to highlight Kirk's political positions, almost as if they were saying that being attacked was somehow expected. Think about that for a second. The implication wasn't hidden. It was right there between the lines. Because Kirk is controversial, because his opinions are bold, then maybe he had it coming. That framing outraged millions. Because whether you agree with Charlie Kirk or despise him, justifying violence is a line no one should ever cross. And that's when Elon Musk stepped in. Unlike politicians who prefer to wait for official reports, Musk reacted immediately. He took to X and blasted out his frustration. He accused the media of deliberately hiding critical details about the attack. And he didn't stop there. He hinted at information that, if true, would change everything. Musk's intervention turned a violent episode into a global conversation. Because unlike political commentators, Elon Musk isn't just an analyst. He is a megaphone for the entire planet. Every word he says is repeated, debated, and dissected by millions. So when he declared that the story of Charlie Kirk wasn't as simple as the media wanted us to believe, suspicion spread like wildfire. Was the public being manipulated? Was the truth being buried beneath carefully crafted narratives? Musk's comments ignited those questions, and they refused to die down. Of course, this is far from the first time Musk has gone head-to-head with the traditional media. Ever since he took over Twitter, now X, he has said one of his main goals is to dismantle censorship and expose manipulation. His stance on Kirk's attack was simply the next chapter in that ongoing battle. A battle where he has placed himself as the lone warrior against a system that thrives on controlling information. Meanwhile, the public reaction was explosive. Kirk's supporters were outraged. They saw the attack as undeniable proof that conservative voices are increasingly being placed in danger. To them, this wasn't an isolated incident. It was the direct result of a political climate so polarized that disagreement has become a justification for aggression. They pointed to the coverage as evidence that mainstream outlets are not only biased, but complicit in painting targets on the backs of people who dare to oppose the dominant narrative. But Kirk's opponents saw things differently. Some minimized the attack, downplaying its seriousness. Others went even further, mocking the incident on social media, calling it the price Kirk had to pay for being too aggressive with his words. That polarization turned the story into a firestorm, pushing it into every corner of public debate. And here's the chilling part. The attack on Charlie Kirk wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a larger pattern, a reflection of a society that is tearing itself apart. The United States is more divided than ever before. Political violence is on the rise. Trust in the media is collapsing. And every new scandal only deepens the fracture lines. Polls show Americans no longer believe what they hear on television. They no longer trust the headlines. They suspect every story has an agenda. And into that environment, Elon Musk's voice lands like thunder. So ask yourself this. If someone like Elon Musk, a man who has access to some of the deepest channels of information on the planet, is telling you that the truth about Charlie Kirk is being hidden, what does that really mean? Who benefits from keeping the full story in the shadows? And how much more are we not being told? And here's where I want your opinion. Do you think Elon Musk is genuinely exposing the truth? Or do you believe this is another power move, a way to control the narrative himself? Drop your thoughts in the comments because the debate is only beginning. Public trust in the press is collapsing. Poll after poll shows that confidence in mainstream journalism is at historic lows. People don't see headlines as objective anymore. They see them as weapons, tools used to push one side's agenda instead of revealing the truth. And in that environment, every act of violence against a public figure instantly becomes fuel for another ideological war. When Elon Musk stepped into the conversation about Charlie Kirk, the story stopped being just another news item. Musk's intervention turned it into a social and political firestorm. He forced millions of people to ask the one question the media never wants you to think about. What truths are being hidden, and who is working so hard to keep them buried? That question doesn't have an immediate answer, but it accomplishes something even more dangerous. It feeds a growing suspicion that transparency is dead, that the information we consume is carefully filtered, packaged, and manipulated. Musk knows this, and whether you agree with him or not, he knows exactly how to plant doubt in the minds of millions. But the danger of this story isn't limited to one incident. There's a larger backdrop. Musk himself has compared the United States to other nations when it comes to security and public order. He has pointed out countries like South Korea, where people can walk freely at night without fear, where basic safety is a given. In contrast, he describes the US as a nation where even the most basic conditions, protection from violence, the right to feel safe in public, have become luxuries. And here's where the attack on Charlie Kirk takes on an even darker meaning. If a political activist can be targeted on American soil, then Musk's argument doesn't just sound like social commentary, it feels like proof. For those already worried about a nation spiraling into chaos, this incident becomes the confirmation of their fears. Political violence is no longer an exception. It is becoming a weapon, a strategy to silence opponents. And when Elon Musk warns that hidden truths remain out of sight, his words echo like an alarm. He isn't saying we've reached the end of the story. He's warning us we've only seen the beginning, just the tip of the iceberg. But here's the more haunting question. Is America entering an era where disagreements are no longer settled with debate, but with violence? If that's the case, then the attack on Charlie Kirk isn't just about one man's safety. It's about the very survival of democracy itself, a system that depends on dialogue, compromise, and open exchange. Without those, what's left? Only chaos. That's why Musk's reaction hit so hard. He wasn't just speaking in defense of Kirk. He was speaking on behalf of millions who already feel abandoned by the system. Millions who believe that the truth is slipping further and further away. And for those people, Musk's voice was a sign that at least someone with real power still dares to push back, still dares to say, the official story is not the whole story. But make no mistake, every time Elon Musk inserts himself into explosive political and social events, he makes himself a target too. Tesla has already faced organized boycotts. SpaceX has dealt with government pressure. And X, the platform that he turned into his personal weapon against censorship, has been under relentless attack from advertisers, watchdog groups, and political opponents. By defending Charlie Kirk, Musk didn't just comment. He positioned himself once again at the center of the storm, not a spectator, but a protagonist. And being a protagonist always comes with consequences. Some will call him a hero, others will call him reckless. But one thing is undeniable: every time Musk speaks, the story grows bigger. His words don't fade into the noise. They shape the conversation itself. And the attack on Kirk did something else too. It created a link between these two men that may never be broken. Before this, Musk and Kirk weren't exactly allies. They didn't share stages often, nor did they collaborate closely. But after this, public perception changed. One was the victim of violence, the other the powerful figure demanding answers. Together, they became a symbol, a pair of names forever tied by this event. And in today's polarized climate, that combination is enough to unleash a media hurricane of epic proportions. This is why the case of Charlie Kirk cannot be dismissed as a short-lived scandal that fades in a few days. It's evolving into something much larger, a turning point. A moment forcing people to reconsider the dangers of political violence, the manipulative role of mainstream media, and the extraordinary influence of individuals like Elon Musk. And here's the chilling part. If Musk is right, if there truly are hidden truths that have yet to be revealed, then what comes next will be even more explosive. What lies beneath the surface could trigger an even bigger crisis. And when that happens, the consequences won't stop with Kirk or Musk. They will ripple across politics, media, and society itself. To understand Musk's fury, you have to look at the bigger picture. He wasn't just talking about one attack. He was situating it within a broader decline. his vision of a United States slipping into instability while other nations maintain order. Musk has said this before. America is losing something fundamental. It is trading safety for chaos, transparency for manipulation. And for him, this isn't just analysis, it's personal. Because every time someone like Kirk is targeted, it reinforces Musk's belief that the system isn't just broken, it's rigged. And that raises a disturbing question for all of us. If Elon Musk is right, and the truth really is being buried, then what else don't we know? What other stories have been reshaped, sanitized, or erased before they reached us? This is where you come in. I want to know what you think. Do you believe political violence is now being used as a tool to silence certain voices? Or do you think Musk is exaggerating to fuel his own battles with the press? Drop your answer in the comments because your perspective matters, and the debate is only getting started. When Elon Musk wants to make a point, he doesn't just rely on statistics or theories. He draws on his own experiences, the things he has seen with his own eyes. And one of the comparisons he has repeated many times comes from his time in South Korea. Musk described the feeling of walking through the streets of Seoul late at night, with no fear of crime, no fear of violence, and no threat of homelessness lurking in every corner. To him, that was the image of an orderly society, a society that takes responsibility for protecting its citizens. And Musk insists this is no accident. He argues that South Korea achieved this level of safety because its leaders prioritize public order. They do not tolerate behaviors that endanger society. They build rules and they enforce them. The result is a culture where people feel secure, where they can live without fear. When Musk looks at the United States, the contrast breaks his heart. In his eyes, American cities have traded safety for chaos. Gun violence, drugs, and an explosion of homelessness have created an environment where danger feels constant. For Musk, this is not just a social failure. It is proof of a political collapse. His argument is sharp. If a country like South Korea can provide its citizens with basic security, why can't the United States? And the question isn't rhetorical. It's a challenge. This is why Musk saw the attack on Charlie Kirk as more than an isolated act of violence. He interpreted it as another symptom of America's decline. If a political activist can be violently targeted on US soil, and if the media responds not by protecting the victim, but by questioning whether he somehow deserved it, then the problem is bigger than one incident. According to Musk, it's evidence of a system where propaganda has more power than truth, and where violence is becoming an accepted tool to silence dissent. And Musk has issued a chilling warning. American politics is turning into a blood sport. He says that instead of debating ideas, factions are using every possible tactic to destroy one another. And the media, instead of playing referee, is playing cheerleader, repeating one narrative again and again until it feels like truth. That is why Musk didn't see the attack on Kirk as random. He saw it as a reflection of a distorted system, a system that no longer rewards argument but intimidation, a system where the story you hear is often more about shaping perception than reporting facts. Within this bigger picture, Musk also connects the dots to immigration. He has repeatedly attacked what he calls America's open border policies, warning that they bring not only economic strain, but also security risks. Musk believes that mass illegal immigration is not an accident, but a deliberate political strategy. According to him, the Democratic Party wants to change the composition of the electorate over time to secure long-term power. It's a claim that sparks outrage, but Musk doesn't back down. And when you connect that claim to the attack on Charlie Kirk, Musk's reasoning grows even sharper. A society that can't control its borders, that tolerates chaos, will inevitably see violence spill over. And who will be the first targets? The voices who dare to speak out. But perhaps Musk's harshest criticism is reserved for the media itself. In his vision, the press should act as a guardian of truth. Instead, he argues, it has become an architect of narratives. Look at how they covered Kirk's attack. Instead of highlighting the injustice of a man being assaulted for his political stance, many outlets shifted the focus to whether Kirk's own opinions made him a natural target. Musk sees this as intolerable, not just because it adds insult to injury, but because it trains the public to accept violence as a legitimate political tool. That, Musk insists, is the real danger. When violence is normalized, democracy itself begins to erode. Because once people stop believing they can settle differences with words, the only thing left is force. But Musk doesn't just point out problems, he offers solutions. For him, the only way to fight this culture of manipulation is to restore true free dialogue, a space where all voices can be heard, not censored. That was his core motivation for buying Twitter. He has said it repeatedly. If there is no platform where information flows freely, then society will always be manipulated by prepackaged narratives. And that's why Musk spoke so strongly in defense of Charlie Kirk. In his eyes, it wasn't just about protecting one man. It was about defending the principle of free expression itself. Because if voices like Kirk's can be silenced through violence or distorted media coverage, then no voice is truly safe. But Musk also views this battle in a global context. To him, what happened to Kirk is not just an American story. It is part of a worldwide challenge. Democracies everywhere are under threat, not only from radicalized violence, but from manipulation of information itself. And if America, the supposed leader of free speech, allows propaganda and violence to dictate the narrative, then what hope remains for other nations? This is where Musk's words land with their heaviest weight. He is not just describing an attack on Charlie Kirk. He is describing the possible future of democracy itself. A world where truth is optional, where violence decides outcomes, and where the voices of individuals are buried beneath carefully crafted lies. So here's the question for you. Do you agree with Musk's vision? Do you think America is really on a path where debate is being replaced by destruction? Or do you think Musk is exaggerating to strengthen his own role as a defender of free speech? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this is where the conversation matters most. If a country like the United States, the nation that has long been held up as the global model of democracy, allows this kind of incident to happen, the consequences won't stop at its own borders. They will ripple outward, affecting the rest of the world in ways that may be irreversible. And that is exactly why Elon Musk chose this moment to step forward. He calls it the hidden truth. And to Musk, it's not simply about one attack or one injustice. It's about sending a warning, building a narrative that forces society to confront the dangers of turning politics into a violent sport, and demanding a return to dialogue before it's too late. Supporters of Musk argue that his intervention is a necessary reminder in a time of chaos. They believe that without powerful voices like his, the attack on Charlie Kirk would have been swallowed up, buried under the avalanche of daily news, forgotten before anyone asked the hard questions. The violence would fade, but the mistakes would repeat again and again. His critics, however, see something more self-serving. They accuse Musk of exploiting the incident, of using Kirk's suffering as fuel to build his own brand, expand his political influence, and cement his image as a defender of truth. But whether you see him as a savior or a manipulator, one fact is impossible to deny. Elon Musk took an incident that could have disappeared in a few news cycles and transformed it into a political firestorm that no one can ignore. For Musk, the attack isn't just another event. It's living proof of a theory he has been voicing for years. The United States has every resource to be one of the safest, most prosperous societies in the world. But he argues weak policies and biased journalism have created a landscape of chaos instead. The only path back, in his view, is radical transparency, giving people the truth and giving them a chance to debate on equal ground. Only then will there be hope for real change. This is why Musk frames the Kirk incident not just as an attack, but as a call for transparency, a call for security, but above all, a call to rebuild a political culture based on dialogue, not destruction. Over and over again in his recent statements, Musk has hammered home the same point. The media is no longer the guardian of truth. It has become an instrument for molding public opinion according to a predetermined script. And in his eyes, American politics has turned into what he calls a blood sport. Stories aren't told to illuminate or to find justice. They're told to annihilate opponents. The Kirk case, he says, demonstrates this perfectly. After the attack, instead of focusing on protecting a young political activist and uncovering the real causes of the violence, major newspapers shifted the spotlight. They painted Kirk as an extremist. Some even implied his views invited the attack, as if his suffering were self-inflicted. It's a strategy Musk finds repulsive but disturbingly effective. Turn the victim into the culprit. Twist the narrative so that the violence itself becomes secondary. That way, the outrage is muted, the responsibility blurred, and the system continues unchecked. But Musk has warned of something even darker, the way repeated lies shape reality. If a lie is told often enough, he has said, people will believe it. And he's right. When mainstream outlets push the same storyline in unison, the public rarely questions it. Those who consume only one source, like CNN, may sincerely believe they're getting the full picture, never realizing they're only seeing one carefully crafted angle. In Musk's view, the media doesn't just report anymore, it engineers. Figures like Charlie Kirk or even Donald Trump are often turned into lightning rods. They don't just face criticism of their ideas. They are transformed into villains, scapegoats onto whom the frustrations of society can be unloaded. The press doesn't just challenge their words. It dehumanizes them, turning them into symbols to be destroyed. This is why Musk compares American politics to a gladiator arena. Crowds cheer not when problems are solved, but when opponents are crushed. It's not about solutions, it's about spectacle. And then there's the power of algorithms. Musk has often highlighted this as one of the most dangerous dynamics in modern society. Social media platforms, controlled by just a handful of tech giants, don't simply display information neutrally. They curate it. They amplify narratives that align with certain agendas while burying or silencing voices that challenge them. Instead of encouraging debate, algorithms feed users exactly what they already believe. They reinforce biases, deepen divisions, and make it harder than ever to even hear a dissenting perspective. The result? A society that grows more polarized with each passing day, where someone like Charlie Kirk can be targeted not just physically, but digitally, isolated, misrepresented, and erased from the conversation. In that light, the attack on Kirk isn't just an act of violence. It's a perfect illustration of how the entire system works. First, violence tries to silence the person. Then, the media reshapes the story. Finally, the algorithms make sure that only one version of reality is amplified. It's a cycle Musk says cannot be ignored any longer. And here's the haunting question Musk leaves hanging in the air. If this can happen to Charlie Kirk, who's next? How many more voices will be silenced? Not by reasoned debate, but by a toxic mix of violence, narrative manipulation, and digital censorship. This is where I want your thoughts. Do you think Musk is right when he says the media has become a tool to normalize violence? Or do you believe he's exaggerating the power of these narratives to push his own fight against traditional outlets? Let me know in the comments, because your perspective is part of the bigger battle. Information doesn't just inform us, it shapes us. The media doesn't only report what happens, it teaches people how they should interpret it. And when certain voices in the press go so far as to celebrate that a political figure has been violently attacked, Elon Musk sees that as a red flag. To him, It's not just irresponsible journalism. It's the sign of a culture that has begun to accept violence as a legitimate tool in the political arena. This brings us back to the central question. If the media has become a weapon, then who protects the truth? Musk believes there is only one answer: restoring a space for real freedom of expression, a space where all voices can collide openly and publicly. That's why, in his eyes, his purchase of Twitter was never just a business deal. It was part of a much larger mission: to defend one of the most fundamental rights left in modern society. Seen through that lens, Musk views the case of Charlie Kirk as far more than a single act of violence. It's a piece of a much larger puzzle, a reflection of how today's American political system functions. When someone can be attacked, and instead of condemning the violence, the media twists the story into an attack on the victim, it reveals a system that no longer values dialogue. It thrives on division, radicalization, and fear. And Musk's warning doesn't stop with America. He argues that this pattern could happen anywhere. If media outlets and political powers abandon their responsibility to truth, then any country, no matter how stable it seems, can fall into the same spiral. In a world already defined by division and extremism, the story of Charlie Kirk, told through Musk's eyes, becomes less of an isolated tragedy and more of a global alarm. But to really understand Musk's obsession with this fight, you have to look at the larger story, the battle for free speech itself. And the battlefield, at least in Musk's view, is Twitter. Before Musk bought it, Twitter had a reputation for heavy censorship, particularly against conservative voices. Politicians, commentators, and even ordinary users saw their accounts suspended, their reach restricted, or their voices silenced for expressing views that clashed with the mainstream narrative. To Musk, this was not just bad business. It was an existential threat to democracy. What bothered him most was the idea that an algorithm, an invisible, unaccountable code, was deciding who could speak and who could not, who was amplified and who was erased, who was allowed to participate in the public square and who was banished. For Musk, censorship doesn't eliminate ideas. It buries them underground, where they grow more radical, more extreme, and more dangerous. That was the tipping point. That was why he announced his purchase of Twitter. He wanted to break the locks, dismantle the walls, and transform the platform into what he called a fortress of free expression. And once he took control, Musk moved quickly. He reinstated countless accounts that had been banned, including those connected to Donald Trump and other controversial figures. He slashed moderation teams. He declared that instead of imposing political rules, Twitter would now let the so-called marketplace of ideas decide. For Musk, this was not just a technical reform. It was a political declaration. A society is only strong, he argued, when it allows every idea to be tested publicly, not hidden behind censorship. But the consequences came fast. Critics accused Musk of turning Twitter into a breeding ground for extremism, misinformation, and hate. They warned that by removing guardrails, he had opened the door for chaos. Musk, however, pushed back. For him, the real danger is what people say. It's whether people are allowed to hear everything and decide for themselves what is true and what is false. And in Musk's mind, the case of Charlie Kirk proves exactly why free speech matters. When mainstream media all march in the same direction, when they present only one angle, the truth becomes invisible. The public sees only what they are allowed to see. But on Twitter, or as Musk now calls it, X, different perspectives can still surface. Competing versions of reality can clash in the open, and in that clash, hidden truths can emerge. That's why Musk's words after the attack carried such weight. He didn't just criticize the media. He declared that he had secrets in his hands, information about the Kirk incident that, according to him, would never appear on mainstream news channels. And that claim opened a new door of suspicion. What did Musk know? What was being concealed? And who stood to gain from keeping the truth out of the public eye? The way Musk tells it, The attack on Kirk is not just about one man being targeted. It's about exposing a system where violence, media, and politics fuse together into something far more sinister. It's about a world where narratives are no longer discovered. They are manufactured. And here's the chilling part. If Musk is right, if stories are being deliberately distorted, then every one of us is at risk of believing a version of reality that isn't real at all. So here's my question to you. Do you think Musk is genuinely holding secrets about this attack? Secrets that could change everything we think we know? Or do you believe he's exaggerating, using mystery to strengthen his role as the self-appointed defender of free speech? Let me know in the comments, because the debate over Charlie Kirk, Elon Musk, and the hidden truth is far from over. When Elon Musk wants to prove a point, he doesn't rely only on abstract arguments. He points to what he has seen firsthand. One of the most striking examples he has shared is his own experience at the US-Mexico border. Musk admitted that at first he doubted the viral videos circulating on Twitter. Clips of wave after wave of migrants crossing into American territory seemed too shocking to be real. Could they have been manipulated? Could they have been staged? But then Musk went to Eagle Pass, Texas himself. What he found there was undeniable. The scenes were exactly as they had appeared online. Thousands crossing, overwhelmed border patrols, chaos spilling into communities. What Musk saw confirmed something deep within him. Platforms like Twitter, when left open to free expression, can reveal truths that mainstream media either ignores or deliberately hides. For Musk, this wasn't just about immigration. It was about the role of information in shaping reality. Twitter, he insists, is not just another social network. In his vision, it is a tool for protecting democracy itself. Because if people don't have access to diverse perspectives, if they are trapped in the single, carefully manufactured reality fed to them by traditional outlets, then democracy is already lost. In that kind of world, incidents like the attack on Charlie Kirk will always be presented in whatever way benefits those in power, never as they truly happened. Of course, Musk admits the challenge of keeping Twitter truly free is massive. He doesn't pretend it's simple. He has acknowledged again and again that the platform can be exploited, that lies and propaganda can spread like wildfire. But here is where he draws the line. The solution, he says, is not censorship. It is transparency. Instead of deleting posts in silence, instead of suspending accounts without explanation, Musk prefers another approach, labeling content, showing sources, and giving users the chance to judge for themselves. In his worldview, trust in the intelligence of ordinary people matters more than any top-down control. If people are allowed to see every angle, every perspective, then they can sort through the noise and find the truth. This is why Musk sees the battle for free expression on Twitter as far bigger than a business strategy. It is a reflection of his entire vision for society and politics. And in that framework, the case of Charlie Kirk becomes more than an incident. It becomes a perfect example of everything Musk is fighting against. A political system that uses violence as a weapon, a media landscape that tells only half the truth, and a society that punishes dissent rather than protecting it. What's remarkable is that despite relentless criticism, Musk has not backed down. If anything, he has grown bolder. He repeats one core belief: progress only happens when people are willing to face the truth, even when it is uncomfortable. And Musk is convinced that Twitter, controversial as it may be, is the most powerful weapon he has to wage that battle. This is why his defense of Charlie Kirk cannot be dismissed as simple empathy. It was part of a crusade, a broader mission to defend free expression, to expose hidden truths, and to reaffirm that no one should ever be targeted simply for their ideas. Whether you see Musk as a hero or a disruptor, his actions around this case show one thing clearly. He views himself as a man fighting a war against silence. And in that war, Charlie Kirk's story becomes more than personal. It becomes symbolic. Musk and Kirk are not just two men. They are signs of something larger. On one side, increasingly radicalized political and media forces, willing to weaponize stories and normalize violence if it helps them crush opponents. On the other, defiant voices who demand the right to speak, to question, to resist the script handed to them. The attack on Kirk and Musk's explosive revelations that followed are a chilling warning. They show that American politics is entering a dangerous new phase, a phase where violence is shrugged off, where media neutrality has collapsed, and where citizens are guided more by prefabricated stories than by facts. And once that becomes the norm, democracy itself begins to rot from within. From beginning to end, Musk's message has been consistent. Only free speech and transparency can restore balance. Only when the truth, in all its complexity, is exposed to the light can a divided society begin to heal. Even if it sparks outrage, even if it draws endless criticism, Musk continues to bet everything on this principle, because he believes that once truth is out in the open, it has the power to cut through the lies and rebuild trust. And that brings us to the bigger picture. This story isn't just about Elon Musk or Charlie Kirk. It isn't just about one attack or one billionaire's tweets. It's about the future of politics itself. It's about whether America will have the courage to listen to every voice, even the ones it hates, or whether it will collapse further into the spiral of division, censorship, and extremism. That's the haunting question left hanging in the air. Will the United States choose dialogue or destruction? Will it defend free speech or bury it beneath violence and propaganda? The answer won't come from politicians or the media. It will come from all of us, from how we choose to consume information, from what we're willing to question, and from whether we dare to face truths that make us uncomfortable. So I'll ask you directly, do you believe Elon Musk is right? Do you believe free expression is the only way out of this growing chaos? Or do you think his crusade is only adding fuel to the fire? Let me know in the comments, because this debate doesn't end here, it starts with you. And if you made it this far, don't leave without joining the conversation. Drop a like if you think the truth deserves to be heard. Share this video if you believe more people need to wake up to what's really happening. And don't forget to check out the next video on this channel, where we'll go even deeper into the battles shaping the future of politics, media, and free speech. Because this isn't just about Musk. It isn't just about Kirk. It's about all of us. And the choice between silence and truth will define the years to come.